Hey now, a few days ago I started to ferment a session strength German Kölsch style ale. With that beer, I went with a lower original gravity. It was at 1042. I'm looking for something in that 4% range. But I also played around with some of the finishing hops, both the flavor and the aroma hops. I went with Sriracha Ace, which can definitely present as lemongrass in the finished product. In fact, I'm hoping it does a little bit. Now, since I have 3 carboys of that going on, and check the video on how I made that beer, I want to sort of play around with one of them. I'm going to kick it up with some cranberry juice here, and I want to really amp up that lemongrass character with, well, some actual lemongrass. So let's see how it goes. All right, so with this lemongrass here, I'm first off just going to cut off the bottom chunk here, that sort of root area. I don't want that. And I'm just going to peel off a couple of these leaves here until we get to just sort of the nice pliable section of it here. I'm not going to use all of those end pieces. I'm just going to stick with this. Now, if a person was cooking with this, you would probably slice it up like so. However, because I'm going to have this in a vacuum seal bag, which I will explain in a moment, I actually want to go ahead and cut it lengthwise here so that I can still expose some of the inner parts here of this lemongrass, but make it harder to get out of the bag when I actually go to pour it out later on. So just get some slivers here. All right, so I've got this lemongrass all separated here into these long slivers. I'm now ready for the next phase of the operation. Now for the cranberries, I'm using some pure cranberry juice, not concentrate stuff and not just like cranberry cocktail or anything like that. This is a Nordic cranberry juice. I had not tried this before until I purchased it. I did have a little sample. Now the interesting thing with this particular jar is that it says that you use 1 part of this juice to 3 parts water when you go to serve it. I sampled it. It's certainly not overdoing it, just leaving it as is, and it's going to be diluted with, well, 19 liters of beer, so that's certainly not a problem. Now, if I was going to just be adding the cranberry juice to the beer, I could go ahead and just pour it in. It was pasteurized. It was all good to go. However, I want to get a little bit more of this lemongrass character into the beer, and I don't want to just add it into the fermenter. So my plan is to let it hot steep in the cranberry juice, extract a lot of that character out of here, and I'm going to do that using my precision cooker. So I'm just going to get the lemongrass all in there, and you can see this is why I wanted it in ribbons so that it could lay like that. I'm going to pour in. I'm going to use the full 1 liter of this cranberry juice, minus the tiny little sip that I had. There we are. Now, because I don't have a chamber sealer, I don't want to go ahead and try to actually vacuum seal this. It's just going to suck it all out. So I'm going to use a water displacement method of getting this into the actual cooker. Now I have my Anova precision cooker here set at 152. I'm going to drop that down to 150 once I get this in here. I just wanted to have the temperature a little bit warmer than initially. Ooh, so that this, oh my goodness. Okay, putting this in. Now, once I've got this to about here, you can see I've pushed a good chunk of that air out. I'm just going to fold over a little bit, and then using some of these little Irwin quick grips, just going to hold it, clamp it right on there, like so, holding it closed. Now I'm using this method here because the hot cranberry juice will extract more efficiently out of that lemongrass and hopefully get some really nice character into here. By having it sealed up, relatively sealed up like this, we shouldn't be blowing off any aromatics. That will be all good. And it's also going to repasteurize that juice and make sure that the lemongrass is pasteurized prior to going into the carboy. After 2 hours, we're good. I'm just going to take this out here and let it cool down to pitching temperature. So at the carboy here, this is actively fermenting, but the fermentation is starting to just slow down a little bit, so it's the perfect time to be adding this addition. I took the now chilled down bag, it's just a touch warmer than that, and I did star sand around the one end that I'm going to be pouring from here. Now I did get a gravity reading with my refractometer on a little bit of this juice, and it came in at 1038, so it's just a little bit lower than the original gravity was of the beer, so that's awesome. It doesn't really change too much at all. And there we are. It's going to replace my wherever my temperature probe went here. Awesome. So I did just agitate this carboy a little bit here just to get things mixed up. So with this particular carboy, I've got the carboy hood with the blow-off tube into a nice bucket here. I have this out in the garage just because the temperature is perfect to keep it just a little bit colder outside than I need the fermentation at. And then with my temperature controller and heat wraps here, I can keep it at the temp. So I currently have this at 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to probably bump it up a couple of degrees here in a day or so. After adding that juice, I let fermentation carry on for several days. When it looked like it was starting to die down, I ramped the temperature up to the mid-60s. Once it was done, I let it cool back down. Taking a gravity reading on this, it actually came in at 1016, which is 5 gravity points higher than the forced attenuation test. So there obviously must have been some unfermentable sugars in that cranberry juice. So it's not going to be quite the dry Kölsch that I was looking for. However, I think with the cranberry flavor in it and the sweetness, I think it's going to be okay. So let's get this into a keg.
So, as always, after transferring that beer into the corny kegs, I chilled it down, gelatin-fined it, let it sit for at least a week, then transferred it into destination carbonation kegs, carved it up, got it on tap, and it is definitely time to try it out. And I'm going to do that in my fun little Stange glass here, a little traditional Kölsch glass, so let's give her a rip. All right, so it was really sunny outside a minute ago, but the sun appears to have gone behind a cloud. Either way, I want to try this out. And I've actually brought my original Kölsch, so the exact same beer fermented with the exact same Brewtech Kölsch yeast strain. You see, this one for some reason didn't clarify quite as much as this. It also didn't clarify quite as much as the Anova lager one that I tried in that little yeast comparison. As far as the color goes, this one does look just a little bit darker there. I know that the yeast haze in here is contributing a little bit to a little bit lighter color in this, but this still does look a little bit darker. I hope that translates well onto camera. By the way, let's give them a little taste here. Ooh, carved up, that's really nice. So some of that cranberry is coming through, largely in tartness. There's just a little bit of cranberry flavor to it. It's subtle, but it pairs really nicely with that lemongrass flavor coming out of the Sriracha Ace hops, which I was kind of hoping for that, which is why I use cranberries in this. That's really nice. Side by side. Yeah, so I do prefer the cranberry one just a little bit. As I mentioned in the video for this original Kölsch here, the bitterness combined with that Sriracha Ace flavor was just a tiny bit much. It is really nice on a hot day, and that sun might actually be coming out here again, which would be great. Very refreshing in that manner. However, the Nova Lager strain, which came across as a little bit more bitter than this, without that fruity yeast character, that was just a touch much. It's pretty good in this. I think it's really delightful in here, and that slightly higher finishing gravity that we had, just because some of the sugars in that juice apparently were not terribly fermentable. This came out really nice. It does not come across as high as that finishing gravity is. Again, with that Sriracha Ace lemongrass flavor, with the tartness of the cranberries and all that jazz. But yeah, absolutely delightful. I would do this again, although I might also toss some actual whole cranberries right into the fermenter and stuff next time. I'll have to play around. Certainly not done messing around with the cranberry Kölsch, but either way, it's fun. I'm going to drink it. It's beautiful out here, and until next time, keep it at 11.